Don't you just love this? Because you've been in this. How many times have you been in this? You're walking down the road with your clients and you're doing your thing and you're working on your job and you get to this fork in this road and you're in a relationship or you're just about ready to have a difficult conversation or you got that blasted email, right? And you're right in the fork of the road and you're either going to go down the psychopath or you're going to take the scenic path. And what I mean about that is the psychopath, we've taken it millions of times before. We know what it looks like. We know how we respond, right? And why I'm giving this is to take the scenic path. And why is it scenic? Because we haven't really done it before. You're going to see new things. You're going to hear new things. You're going to experience new things. But your intention is going to be about clarity, getting through the conflict, and over to the other side. So practicing, the second step is really about practicing openness. We talked a little bit about that body language. And when you practice openness, just simply, like if I was standing up here doing this whole speech with my arms crossed, what's the conflict?
You're closed.
I'm closed. What else do you say? Tell me what you are saying in your own mind right now when I'm talking like this.
You're closed.
I'm just in it for the money.
Oh.
Good. What's another one?
You're cold.
You're cold?
I'm cold. Oh, I'm cold like temperature-wise. Okay, yeah.
We can't trust.
Oh, can't trust me. Pompous.
It looks angry.
Angry? See, I can put a little expression on my face. I can walk closer to you. Ooh, my eyes, I'm not accessible. So I have designers tell me all the time, well, I like to keep my arms crossed. Don't ever do it. Because did you hear what everyone just said? Did you have any clue that your clients would think that about you just because your arms are crossed? In fact, when you're with your clients, almost at all times, have your hands open like this. I have to tell you this story. I was working in healthcare. My boss was a doctor. There was a lot of doctors, and it was like 98% men. I was the only woman. I was young, and I was a director. He was a vice president, so I was kind of up on the ladder. We had a lot of respect for each other, but we were having a heated argument. And at the time, I was working with a speech coach, and he told me to always, whenever you're in an argument, whenever you're going down a slippery slope, to open up your palms. Open up your palms. Energetically, everything is energy. Energetically, when you open up your palms, it just automatically opens up your heart. It opens up their heart. It opens the energy. So here I am, I'm in this argument with him, and we are at this round table in his office, and we are just going back and forth. We had to break because it got so heated. Back and forth and back. I was not going to give in. I felt really strong about the point I was trying to make, right? And he was too. He was digging in. And he was sitting, what was so fascinating, he was sitting with his arms, I can't do it without being on a table, but he's literally like this, like protecting his heart, protecting his stance and his position, right, at the table. So we broke, and I thought to myself, we're going to get nowhere. We are just going to get nowhere. I'm not going to get what I want. He's not going to get what he wants. He doesn't know how to have these conversations, and I do, right? I know how to have them. And so I dropped my whole agenda. I dropped, me making my point and holding my ground. And I walked in there, and the second round, right? I walked in there, and I sat down, and I sat underneath the table. And I put my arms up like this, so he couldn't see me, because I felt really weird. I thought, if he sees me doing this, he's going to think I'm like a witch doctor or something. So I'm at the table, and I have my hands like this, right? Suddenly, and I just stopped talking. and one arm came down. I couldn't believe it. And then another arm came down on the table, open. I couldn't believe it. The entire conversation shifted completely in seconds. In seconds. I was so dumbfounded. I wasn't even sure. Because, I'm having this observation in my head. I'm listening to him. I'm talking. I'm hearing the conversation completely change. He's opening up. I'm opening up. Suddenly, we come up with a solution that both of us were happy about. So, this practicing openness, being open with your body language, what happens is it triggers. It triggers different words to be spoken. When you're angry, your mind is using angry words. And when you go open, your mind uses open words. So I'm going to talk about that more in detail in a minute. So the first thing around being open is to use your body to openness. The other thing is to, at the very beginning, assume miscommunication. Assume miscommunication. I hear this all the time with my coaching clients. They say, I have this situation and I don't know what to do, and this person said this, and well, what is she thinking? She must think I'm blah, 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 and then, well, she must blah, blah, and she spent this whole time making up what she thought her client thought. And you guys tell me, what's the percent of time that you're actually right? Tiny. Teeny, teeny, tiny. Don't even spend your time thinking about what they're thinking. Ask them. Ask them what they're thinking. Assume miscommunication. Wow, I got this email from you and it said this and it said that. And I'm a little confused, or I don't quite understand. Could you just speak more to it? Because there's safety that has been lost and there's trust that has been lost, they are not telling you the real thing first. They're only telling you what they have the courage and what they feel safe enough to tell you. Oh, yeah. So the real good stuff, the stuff that they've piled up that they're really upset about, they haven't even started on because they want to first establish trust with you. And you have to first establish this shared opinion again. Otherwise, they don't feel safe to open up. But you can do some of that with your body language. Now, I'm looking out at all of you. And one thing you can do that's really simple is just sit up. Sit up. How about stand up? Everyone stand up right now. I want to show you what this looks like and feels like. And throw your shoulders back till it feels like you're really sticking your chest out. Okay, now go back. Just like accentuate and go back down. How does that feel? Better? How does that feel? Stay there for just a minute. No, tell me how happy you are right now. Try to smile. Try to smile. Doesn't work, does it? Open up, stand up, really big and tall, like you have a string pulling you up. Look around, look at each other. You automatically are smiling. It's automatic. And you open up. So the other part I want to talk about is about opening up your heart. The research tells us that the heart is now the fifth part of the brain. The heart is the fifth part of the brain, and what is in your heart is felt, of course, I believe and know it's felt across the universe, right? But they have these tools, they have these machines that can literally feel the energy coming from your heart 16 feet in diameter. Okay? Now, what does that mean for difficult conversations? That is huge. That is huge. You think about when you enter a room and your kids or your husband or your client or somebody is upset. You know it before you walk in, or you know it as you walk in, right? You can feel it. You know what's happening, right? That's because this is the way it is. So, what if you were to approach these difficult situations and these difficult conversations in a completely different way, starting with your heart? So we're going to do it right now. So close your eyes. Now I want you to go to that really happy place. Go to that place that you, close your eyes. Everyone close your eyes. I'll do it too. I won't walk. Go to that happy place. Feel, I don't know if it was a beach, a wedding, a grandbaby, a daughter being born or son, or a puppy, like wherever that happy place is. Okay, feel that in your heart. Just notice what that feels like in your heart. So somebody just keep your eyes closed, stay there, like embrace it, strengthen it. Tell me what is happening in your heart. Just shout it out. Warmth. Sorry? The heart beats fast, okay. What else?
Calm.
Calm. What else? Sorry?
Happy.
Happy. Smiling.
Joy.
Joy.
Light.
Sorry?
Light.
Light. Okay, good. So stay there. Stay there. Now, think about if you are currently having a difficult situation with someone, client, family, friends, whatever. Go there. Watch your heart. Observe your heart. What happened? Hurts. What happened?
Conflict.
Conflict. What does conflict feel like?
Tight.
Tight.
Loss of breath.
Loss of breath. What else?
Pressure.
Pressure. Okay, open your eyes. Imagine in 30 seconds or less, all of you could go to that happy place. You could go and you could make your heart into that happy place. Imagine if you physically approached, on the phone, in your emails, physically approached those difficult conversations in that space. You can literally put your own heart, your own self into that space in seconds. And that vibe gets shouted out like radio waves to your client and approaches them as you approach them. Imagine the different kind of conversation that you can have, the possibilities that you can have. They feel that. It's a great place to be able to start. So, that's what I mean about talking about changing the disposition of your heart. And because, I mentioned this earlier a little bit, because they say the heart is the fifth part of the brain, what they're showing is that the heart in this state is offering up a different set of words when you have this difficult conversation. It's not from that tight where your heart hurts and pains kind of a space. It's from this open, loving possibility kind of a space. And those are the words that come to you. So, solutions that you never thought before, solutions that you've never said before, will come up for you. Practice it when it's easy, when it's simple, and there's not a whole lot of risk at stake. So practice it. Practice being in that. And then you get stronger, and you get stronger, and you get stronger. And then you can do that as you're in difficult conversations. Here's like the big answer to your question, is that when you realize that the longer you can hold that space for you and that other person, the better it's going to be. So you kind of think to yourself, you're going to go above wherever they are. Like they're responding to it negatively. Or by you having that space, it allows them the ability to just dump, right?
So you're holding it.
And I want to be really clear about this. I am not suggesting that I'm suggesting that you allow them to dump it, okay, over there. You are not the receptacle for people dumping their stuff. I am simply saying that you hold this loving energy around yourself that will exude. And like for me, it comes from above and comes through. So I can hold that, and I can do it longer and longer and longer, knowing even if they are angry with me, because I know that if I can hold that for the both of us, it is going to be far better. So I'm holding on to, if I cannot take this personal, that's what I'm holding on to. If I cannot take this personal, them yelling at me, or I made this mistake, and maybe it's all true. Maybe I'm completely incompetent. Maybe it's all true. But if I can not take it personally and just hold this energy, we will get past this. And the great thing is it happens. It depends on the relationship. It depends on how mad people are. If people are not that mad, then this happens really quickly. The more resentments that have stacked up, the more difficult. It just takes more time and more time. What I don't want you to think is you do this and you take a few seconds, because we're all like, everything happens in a few seconds, right? Right? And it's not just perfect and you go, well, that didn't work. No. Yeah, I know. People go, well, that wasn't that magic bullet. Gosh, I won't do that anymore. But when you do it a little bit, you should start to see really profound results. Because love, it just melts. It melts every other energy. It just does. So they might get mad at first because you're stirring up stuff about them. And then if you hold to it and give them a little bit more time, that whole time, all you're doing is creating safety. You're literally putting them in a bubble of safety, of trust, confidentiality. And it just takes a little time. Basically saying not being tied to the outcome is just being committed to being in that space and knowing that that's the right space to be in. I mean, let's face it, what you're saying, I think, is that, you have to live with yourself, right? At the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. And wouldn't it be nice at the end of the day to say, wow, I stayed in that really loving place versus I got, angry and I responded and I did this and, well, she's right and she's wrong and I'm right and all that kind of stuff. This whole thing, if you think in that mentality, I've seen designers do this all the time, of who's right and who's wrong, there's no end. The conversation will go on for an eternity. And it's not really helpful, who's right and who's wrong. Is that if you want to know who's right and who's wrong, then you might as well get out of this business, right? It's what is going to make somebody happy and how to solve the problem so that it's mutually beneficial for you and your business and for their project, right? So that's what this is really is all about. The last solution is what I call practice, listen to understand. It's a new way of listening. This is how coaches are taught how to listen. I'm going to teach you how to listen and how coaches are taught to listen. The first thing is, so when you're standing there and you're talking to your client and they're like, what do you normally do in your head?
Think about what you're going to say next.
Think about what you're going to say next, right? You're like, oh, I got that one. Oh, yeah, I can say this on that one. Yeah, and that was a good, I can follow that one up because I can tell her why I did that, right? Yeah, so that's the first mistake, because if you are thinking about what you're going to say, you've totally missed any gold nugget that you are going to get from your client. And you have to assume, I just want to tell you, assume that your client is going to tell you everything eventually. If you create a sacred, safe space, your client is going to tell you everything. So if you're spending time thinking about what you're going to think about and what you're going to talk about, you've missed everything. Okay? So the first step into listening is to focus on them. The whole purpose is to get into their shoes. It's to understand, get into their head. Why are they thinking like this? Where are they coming from? The minute you can understand where they're coming from, you go, oh, I don't agree with this. But I can see how this person would think that way because now I'm in their head. They've explained it to me. Now I understand. We all come from different backgrounds. We have different ways of thinking. It's really hard to deal with unless you really get into another person's shoes. So the purpose is to really understand, get information, and to get into their shoes. So focus on them. Understand what the real issue is. This is like the first part of a difficult conversation. You are not there to actually have the conversation. This step is about literally listening and only spending time listening. So you are not going back and forth. It's called sending and receiving. There's only one sender, and that person is your client or whoever you're having a difficulty with. And you're simply there to listen about and understand who they are and what they're about and what's going on, okay? So you're not asking questions. We're not interrupting them. There's no clarification. The only time you would ever speak in this part, okay, with your client is to rephrase and go, okay, let me just make sure I heard what you just said. Right? You are just trying to clarify. So you might say, okay, what I heard you say is this. Is that right? So you can stop if you need to stop someone to clarify. But what happens with interior designers and most people, right, is we go, oh, wait a second. Do you mean this? Do you mean that? Or okay. Well, what about this? So well, you're not asking questions. Just let them talk. Okay? encourage them, everything to get out. So you're saying, what else? So if someone's really upset with you, this is where people go, really? You want me to ask them what else when they're already really upset with me? Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because they will not tell you what they're really mad about until the last 20 seconds. I can almost guarantee you that, right? How many of you have kids? Raise your hand. Kids? Okay. Do they tell you like the biggest issue in the beginning? Isn't it kind of like at the end when they go, it's like the real big thing that they want, but they're too scared to tell you at the beginning, and they're making up all these things that they're upset about, or they're kind of upset about, but the real zinger is at the very end, right? Same thing. People have to talk for a little while, and sometimes they don't remember what they're mad about because it's at the bottom of the pile of the resentments. And so they need some time, and you need some time and space to rebuild that safety and that trust. Remember, it's all about rebuilding that trust. So you want to say, what else? Tell me more. Is there anything else? And then when they finally, that you feel like they're worn out, right? And they're done, you say, do we have permission to solve? Do I have your permission to start solving some of these problems? And not only do I have your permission, which one would you like to start with first? You ask them. So you don't have to guess. You don't have to make it up. You don't have to pick. You ask them which one they want to solve first. When you're having this conversation and they're talking to you and rah, 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 what else? Okay, well, since you're asking, rah, 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 is there anything else before we go on? Well, yeah, there's a couple things. Is there anything else? Oh, I think I've said enough. You will notice your clients will you can tell when they're done. There'll be a shift in their face. They're not mad anymore. They're done. They've said it all. Right? You'll see that shift in their face when they're finished. And you need to get to that shift before you can actually move on, because that's the point where they're like, okay, I trust you again. You've listened to me, you've heard me, you've acknowledged me, you understand me, I trust you again, I think you're on the same page, let's move on. And this is all intuitive, this is watching people, and that's when you say, okay, which problem would you like to start first? And the reason why that co-creating solutions is so important, number one is it's always a different problem than what you thought it was. Almost always a different problem than what you thought it was. And secondly, is you two together will come up with solutions that usually easier, number one, usually easier, number two, that neither one of you ever considered, because now you're thinking together. And bottom line, what this does and how this differentiates you from the rest of the designers is it strengthens, it bonds, it creates this new relationship between you and your client that nobody else has. Because everybody else is out there guessing, doing what you're doing, trying to figure it out without asking. And if you're the one designer that uses these tools and that makes it safe and so easy to work with, you are going to get picked over other people. thing. Take everything I've said, same thing. You know why? You get the email, right? And you start typing, and then you go, oh, I can't say that. Delete, delete, delete. And you go, oh, okay, I'll say it like this. Oh, I can't say that. Right? It's the same thing. If you really ever want to have a relationship with a client, real, true, strong, good relationship with a client, the one you really want, the multi-million dollar, the billion-dollar client that you want to continue with, and there's some issue, you pick up the phone and go, let's talk. There's nothing good that's going to come from this. People go, oh, but I have these clients, and that's crap. It's only because you haven't created the safety big enough and strong enough to let them know that they're going to get their problem solved, okay? Because they don't know how to do it, they're not going to do it. So you've got to start creating a safe space for them, because the only reason why they're doing all that is because it's not safe enough to approach you, okay? So doesn't matter whose fault it is or anything. All you want is to have a really good relationship with that client. Now, if you don't, by all means, type away, email away. The other thing is, okay, you have to send an email. Then send an email that said, first of all, you never respond right then and there. You cannot be in that space and respond. The words that come will not be the words that you will ever want to see again. So wait 24 hours, have a different space, but get into that happy place and watch the kind of words that will come up for you. You go, what kind of relationship do I want to have with this client? And how am I going to respond? And you might type back and go, wow, I can see, acknowledge, I can see you're really upset about some issue. You can feel it from emails. The energy comes right through. I can tell you're really upset about it. I'd like to know about that because I want you to be ecstatic and I want to solve it. Anytime you have a client who has a problem, upset about something that has any kind of energy around it at all, email is only going to make it worse. I can just tell you that right now. People need that personal. I know that's what people say they want. Just give me the prize. But then everything becomes a commodity. Yeah. You just become a price, and you're no longer about a relationship. It's a split second where you make the choice and you go, okay, I'm either going to do what I normally do, and that is pass out and react the same way, or I'm literally going to say, nope, I'm going to do this different. The second you start moving that direction, you can literally say, excuse me, I need just one moment. Are you on the phone or in person? Okay, either way, you just, excuse me, I need just one moment. And you literally remove yourself, put them on hold, walk somewhere. If you make the choice right here and right now, I'm telling you, right here and right now, and you commit to yourself, and you say, I am going to be more conscious, I am going to catch myself earlier before I move into this unconscious space. I am going to do that before you will start doing it. You are telling your mind to do it. You are committing yourself to do it. Something I do often is I say, I have solved far greater problems than this one. And you're literally telling yourself, because the whole pass out thing is fear. It's like, oh, I'm not sure I can do this. Okay, so you want to just get a little bit before that fear. Having just spent a lot of time explaining the common mistakes we make and the 3 techniques that diffuse and turn around a difficult conversation, these techniques literally only take a few seconds to do while you're in a conversation. So I'm going to take a few common situations you face and show you how to use the techniques to handle them. Let's say you sent out a big invoice. It's now overdue by a week or more. You're getting worried, doubts and fears are coming, and you're in this mental state of trying to figure out your next move. First, using the process, you would generate some confidence through saying to yourself, I know there's a good solution, I'm just trying to find it. Whether you are in person or on the phone, you stand up straight, tall, open your shoulders, and acknowledge something is amiss by using a matter-of-fact tone in your voice and say, I noticed I haven't received payment on the invoice. Did you receive it? When they answer yes, be quiet, as if allowing or expecting them to share more about the situation. You could also say, I noticed I haven't received payment on the invoice. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Let them tell you what's going on with the payment. By using the words, I noticed I haven't received payment, you diffuse any defensiveness by making the topic about you. If you were to say, you haven't paid your invoice, these words automatically create defensiveness, because anytime you start a conversation with you, it's the nature of the word. Acknowledge something is amiss, use open-ended questions, open your heart, approach them in a manner that you know there's an answer. Then listen, rephrase, encourage more, ask for permission to resolve. They may say, oh, we've been so busy. I'm sorry, I'll get to that. They may say something like, I have questions about it and I haven't had time to review it in more detail. They might say, it was more than I expected. We're struggling with that. Whatever the case, you stay calm, you rephrase their reality with something like, I know you're super busy. What could I do to make it simple for you? Or if you can tell they are unhappy about something, acknowledge that by saying, I hear that you might be unhappy about something. Do I have that right? Can you say more about that? What questions might you have? Use open-ended questions and invite them to get out whatever is holding them back. Because once you overcome that, the odds of getting your invoice paid have dramatically increased. Let's say, for example, that it's something harsh, like, I'm not paying that invoice, it's way too much. Stay calm, keep your tone of voice positive, rephrase what you just heard. I think I heard you say the invoice was too much. I'm confused by that response. Can you say more about what you mean by that? This allows them to be acknowledged that you're responding calmly, making it safe for the conversation to continue to understand the real issue of why they're not paying. Only until you know the real issue can you start to resolve it. Through respecting them by being calm, open to hearing their perspective, and asking for more, it sets up the foundation and the expectation for them to return your respectful courtesy. And very often, honesty is returned with honesty. They might define it further by saying, I don't have that kind of money right now. Or, it seems like that's a lot of money for that activity. Or, that was not what you agreed to. Each of these different responses by your client requires you to continue discovering what is at the core, and that involves the process that we've outlined. So let's talk about another very common situation, a miscommunication around an item ordered, a decision about a project, a selection of a color, a style, or a product, or issues in the contract. Let's say you're on your way to an installation with your client and the installers and maybe a person on your team are already there in the midst of the installation. You walk in and immediately notice the energy of the client is not happy without a clue as to why. Instead of ignoring it or guessing and trying to make them happy at every turn, you pull them off on the side and you say, "Wow, I can really feel that you're unhappy about something. I really want to know if that has anything to do with this install. Please tell me about what's going on for you." Now listen as they speak, nodding your head, even taking notes. Ask what else, listen again, only interrupt to gain clarification. Just so I'm clear, did you mean this? Ask, is there anything else? So you are not stopping to solve each problem as you go. For each thing they get to express, they relieve some more stress. They begin to feel more comfortable, and in the last 30 seconds, they will tell you the thing that is bothering them the most. "My husband isn't here and he said he would be here. I'm mad as hell." Let that stand. Acknowledge their pain. Then ask, is there anything else you want to say before we move on? And then they pull out this singer and they say, "Your staff person broke this or that or made some mistake." Remain calm. Thank them for telling you everything. Apologize for their experience and ask them which of the issues they spoke about did they want to solve first. Take a deep breath together. Take one issue at a time and co-create a win-win solution. You never know. They may only want to resolve the first one or the second one, and then they're happy. Also, look to them for solutions, because so many times designers give away too much, especially in times when they don't have to. The client may be really appreciative of a heartfelt apology from the staff member more than they want something replaced. My point is to let them be more involved versus you always solving everything. Now keep this in mind. When people say something outrageous like, "I will never pay this invoice," or "until you fix that problem, we're finished," remember, this is often a pathway for them to open the door to get to speak and ultimately say the real issue. Don't take this as what they are upset about or the final thing they want, but more that they are using this topic because it's the only one they feel comfortable voicing. So your job is to figure this out, to understand this, and take it as a cue, a signal, that now you can use the words and make it safe for them to get to the real issue. So you start with acknowledging their reality. "Wow, you seem super upset. How did we let things get to this point? What about this cabinetry that really bothers you?" Listen to everything, nod your head in confirmation that you hear them, make good eye contact, rephrase what they're saying so that you clearly understand, have an open stance, ask, "Is there anything else?" And this is where you really want to have your best listening skills, because they are just about ready to tell you what took them 20 minutes to find the courage to say. Then ask for permission to start solving their issues. Find out the one they want to solve first. Because you are so creative, and since you were just listening, you will have new solutions that you didn't think of earlier, and definitely different from any idea that they had to perhaps completely redo or return something. You can say, I have a new idea to solve this. Since you said da 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 da, and you liked da 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 da, or you didn't like da 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 da, what do you think about? Present your idea using all the things they just told you that they wanted, even though it's different than what they asked for in the first place. Remember, clients don't have your creativity. So the first solution that comes to their mind is they want to return something. But you are creative and resourceful, so that isn't necessarily the best solution. Here's a different kind of difficult situation that you often face, and that is when potential clients, friends, or family want you to give them advice or information for free. They ask one question after another, or they want you to tell them your resources, and you are stuck in this awkward situation of not knowing how much to give, or giving too much and feeling both resentful and guilty all at the same time. Treat them like you would any potential client, asking for their goals for the project, even giving some information that's enough to help them and to let them know how you work. When you get to a point where you begin to feel uncomfortable, either you feel isn't going anywhere or you're giving too much, recap their project goals. Say that you would be happy to work with them and that you prefer to set an appointment. That sets a good and a kind boundary. Or you decide that you want to work with them or help them all for free. Or you do a trade for the service. But whatever it is, you be clear, communicate that, and you make that choice yours. Now I'd like to share a list of words and phrases that diffuse conflict. They eliminate irritation, and they open possibilities that will really help you. The first one is to remove the word you from the beginning of a sentence. You didn't return my call. You didn't pay your invoice. You said you liked the fabric. Sarah said you called to talk about the contract. Replace the word you with you as the topic. I haven't received your call. I haven't received the payment. I remembered that you really like this fabric. I look forward to talking about our agreement. You can diffuse and neutralize a person and a situation by taking the focus off of them or what they did and making it about you. Second, eliminate the word why. Why did you call? Why don't you like the sofa? Why isn't the color right for you? Why does the carpet bother you? Replace why with an open-ended word like what, so that it asks the person to share instead of defend themselves. What was the purpose of your call? Feels far different than why did you call? Even if you have a perfect tone of voice, it's still tricky. Why did you call versus what did you need? What did you call about? Feels far better. Some other examples are, what are the things about the sofa that you didn't like and liked? What are the top 3 things about the color that don't work for you? What does work for you? Are there things that you can articulate that bother you about the carpet? Is far better than, why don't you like the carpet? The third tip is to remove the word but entirely from your vocabulary and replace the word but with the word and. And works in all situations. The word but is excluding. The word and is inclusive. Anything you say before the word but will be canceled out and replaced by words that follow the word but. For example, I love this one because it's something that we all know. I love you, but you said you would wash the car and you didn't. This gets communicated as, I'm mad because you said you would wash the car and you didn't. There's no mention, there's no feeling of love at all. Other examples. I understand your point, but it doesn't make sense in the situation. I agree with you, but it will cost too much. I really like your idea, but the client wants it. When communicating with the word but, people are only left with to defend their actions or a point of view. Doesn't this sound a lot better? I understand your point, and it doesn't make sense in the situation. Do you see how that acknowledges another person's viewpoint? And it allows you to have a completely opposite viewpoint, and it's all okay. I really like your idea, and the client wants it. I love you, and you didn't follow through on washing the car. Again, this acknowledges the other person while letting them know that you have a different opinion. Both can exist. There is only one reason I stand before you and share these tools: to help you become wildly successful while being your authentic self. If you leave today and do the same old thing, you will get the same old results. So grab a pen and write down a few things that you learned today that you will practice doing differently and regularly. If you practice, you will have amazing results. Here is just what a few people have told me based on practicing these techniques. If you want me to come speak to your group, send me an email. You can also check my website to see if I'm speaking near you. I would love to meet you. I coach design professionals one-on-one. We also have amazing coaching groups on topics like boundaries, how to market yourself, and key business operating strategies that make you more efficient so that you can design more. I conduct live workshops. There are lots of activities. Some of them are on my website and others are not. So if you're interested, send me an email.
So you're ready to take the quiz. Go to my website, playyourgeniusout.com. Go over to the CEU menu button, hover over the button, drop down, click on Quiz Difficult Conversations. You'll be taken to a page of instructions. Very self-explanatory, and read through that, and then click on Take the Quiz. And then you're required to enter your name. If you have an IDCEC number, it starts with 21 followed by some zeros. If you have it, great. If you don't have it, that's okay. It's not required. and put your email address in so that we can notify you to let you know that we've recorded your CEU on your account. Then click the next button and you're taken to the quiz, Art of Difficult Conversations. You've got 10 questions. In order to pass, you need to get 8 out of 10 correct. Go through each question and put a dot inside the circle of the answer that's correct. And when you hit submit, you're going to be taken to another page that shows you how many you got correct. Again, if you got 8 out of 10 correct, we'll be notified and we will record it on your IDCEC record. And if not, you go back to the CEU menu button and follow the process again. Thanks and good luck.
Finally, thank you so much for watching and being together and design on. So if you're in this really bad place where you're kind of stressed and you know you're going, is it this by a motion sensor? Or is this like last call and we have to get out? So I'm just gonna go, keep going. This will be the first speech I've done in the dark.
Awesome. I'm still practicing. Right, honey?
I was going to say, practice with my husband.
Oh, so,
Start with him.
yeah, it's really good. Practice with your husband. Practice with
I now have it on video.
This is my husband, Peter, by the way. Oh, he's going to say, you remember when you said in that lecture? Do that.
So I want to do this little exercise. I hesitate actually to ask you to close your eyes at this point in the night after a glass of wine and some food, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take the risk. So I want you to all close your eyes. No, don't do that. I know you want to do that, Jim. I know you're just like...